then we will start, and I will welcome you, William, and compliment you with very important research. And in fact, you are coming to Norway in due time, because we are going to reform our family laws in Norway. And there's been lots of misunderstandings and claims that your research tend to clarify. And one of the claims that comes from academic people in Norway is that the beneficial effects for children by shared parenting is due to a third factor, that it is the good fathers that get most of the shared time with the children, and they also influence their children in a beneficial way. So I think it is it's time for your perspective on this.
Yeah, well, of course we worry about that issue. In all of social science, we always worry about the issue that there may be a third variable explaining the relationship we see. I mean, we worried about that with smoking and lung cancer, right? So there are many ways of getting evidence for a causal relationship between two variables, and we've exploited all of those in the research that I've done. And it ranges from finding a dose-response relationship between increasing parenting time and long-term increases in the security of the father-child relationship. We see that we see that repeated when we look at parenting time during infancy, so it's not just for older children. We see that when courts have imposed equal parenting time, we still see the benefits associated with it. We see that when one parent relocates away from the other so that the child loses time with the father, we see a decrease in the quality, the long-term quality of the father-child relationship. So in all these cases, we see correlational evidence that continues to support the possibility that the parenting time is causing stronger father-child relationships. One other point to consider is that, usually in today's kind of courts, that fathers can't simply decide how much parenting time they want. It's not a case like smoking, where people could decide how many cigarettes they would smoke a day. Right? Fathers or mothers can't just decide how much parenting time they want. All right? So the fact that we still see a dose-response relationship between parenting time and father-child relationships argues against a self-selection factor. Right? Now, finally, we have a study most recently where we employ the state-of-the-art longitudinal methods to separate what's called the trait versus the state sources of variance, or the between group versus within group. Without going into a lot of detail, basically what that allows you to do is to control for self-selection factors. So it controls for the father's personality and sort of the child's temperament, both of which might be a third variable. And we've done this analysis on a big longitudinal data set that we have that follows children from age 10 to 22. There are 400 community families in Arizona and California, and the study was funded by the National Institutes of Health in the United States. And the findings were just very, very clear that controlling for third variables changes in the time that the child has with father, which can vary because of a relocation or a change in work hours or either parent getting a new relationship or all sorts of things. In year one, when you see a change going up or down in the time the child spends with father, 1.5 to 2 or 3 years later, you see a corresponding decrease or increase in the quality of the father-child relationship. And that's controlling for the third variables using the state-of-the-art methods that allows you to identify within family effects of parenting time on, in this case, the father-child relationship. So we have this whole series of findings that converge on a causal role of parenting time. In addition, we have insight into the mechanisms by which parenting time could influence the father-child relationship, and the clearest way is that if the child experiences a decrease in time with father, either as a result of a divorce happening and now there's visitation, or something after the divorce that changes the parenting time, we really have lots of evidence to understand that the child interprets a loss of time with father as causing doubts in the child's mind about how important the child is to the father. Young children have a very difficult time understanding why they're not seeing one of their parents, and they are very susceptible to thinking it's because the parent doesn't love me anymore. And it causes doubts about how much they think they matter to that parent. And we've measured this very, very clearly. And it's this emotional insecurity that's caused by lack of availability of a parent that dysregulates the child's physiological stress response system and leads to long-term mental and physical health problems. So we think we really understand the process.
Yeah. So most or all of the criteria for claiming a causal relationship has been examined and controlled for in your research.
Every way we've looked at it has been consistent with the mechanism that parenting time causes changes in the father-child relationship. And the same thing would work for the mother-child relationship. When children have equal time with both parents, then we see the strongest relationships with both mothers and fathers. So as parenting time increases from 0 to 50% with dad, we see a dose response increase in the security of the father-child relationship and no decrease in the quality of the mother-child relationship.
So it's not zero-sum game here.
And plus, the relocation is almost a natural experiment, because when a parent petitions the court to relocate with the child, it's supposed to be to benefit the child and to benefit the family, and therefore to benefit the child. So those potential benefits, like a job offer or health reasons or family, those should happen independently of whether that's the father is a good father. So in a sense, that's almost a natural experiment. And also when the courts have ordered equal parenting time over the objection of the parents, that's almost kind of another type of natural experiment. So
I think the politicians, when they are going to amend the law, they will look at some of the research claiming that there is no causal effect, and therefore they are reluctant. Your research is showing the opposite. I can understand that is your position now.
Well, that the evidence shows that, and to claim that there must be a third variable, then it's incumbent upon those people to produce that third variable. Let's see what it is. Do the study, find that it's not the time, that it's the personality, I've never seen a study like that. We've taken the issue of a third variable very, very seriously, and now we have the state-of-the-art methods to detect causality, and we've applied it to a very large data set, and the findings are very clear. From age 12 to 22, changes in the time with father are paralleled by changes in the quality of the father-child relationship.
Another argument within our present law is to protect children against interparental conflicts. So the present law states that if there is high conflict between the parents, shared parenting should not be considered as an alternative. How would you respond to such an argument?
Well, the way we respond is we look at how conflict hurts children, and it does. And we look at how lack of parenting time can hurt the parent-child relationship. And both of those processes work through the child's sense of emotional security or insecurity, which ties in with the child's stress response system. So yes, exposure to parent conflict is harmful to the child's sense of security and to the regulation of the child's physiological stress system. But so is lack of parenting time. So we should deal with the child's exposure to parent conflict not by reducing parenting time, because that sets up two sources of emotional insecurity. Courts have ways of dealing with parent conflict by ordering parents to go to counseling or employing a third party to mediate differences. There's much more direct ways of dealing with managing the child's exposure to parent conflict than by removing one parent. That's a blunt instrument. You don't want to do that.
It's destructive. It's destructive to the children.
Because both things work through the child's stress system. And once you understand how those processes work, then it's easier to understand the best way to form policy, because you know how the system works. The trouble with the research in the past is that they neglected that whole central chain of the child's feelings of emotional insecurity and threat. And when you don't understand that and don't look at that, and you just look at parenting time or parent conflict and then things like depression or anxiety or school performance, you don't understand how the process works. Knowing how both conflict and parenting time operate through the same stress response system in the child forces you to realize that those two things are equally important, and we have to find a way of managing both of them for the long-term benefit of the child.
Yes. One thing that impressed me with your work, William, is that you're not only a researcher, but you're also a policymaker.
That surprised me too. I never thought that would happen.
No. Can you tell me a little bit about how did you get your research relevant for the jurisdictional system and for lawyers and lawmakers? How could that happen?
But we had a mechanism in Arizona where there was a large committee that had existed for years to advise on family law. It was administered by the state legislature and staffed by the Arizona Supreme Court. So I was a member of that, and that gave me an opportunity to present the research for a number of years as it was evolving. And, it was long-term contacts. It was a chance for people to ask questions. It was a chance for me to share the research. And people understood you know,
So you
people
changed-
understood. And then so we decided to reform the entire state child custody statute. We brought all the parties together. We agreed to operate on evidence. And the evidence by then for shared parenting was convincing to people. And we also worked on modernizing the domestic violence parts of the statute. And it was a wonderful experience. I don't really quite know else how to explain it, but the law was passed almost unanimously. The governor signed it with a strong signing statement, and the family law community in Arizona has been really pleased with it since 2013. There's been no attempt to change it, and we've had international visitors come to Arizona, talk to our judges and attorneys and mental health people and court personnel, and everybody's proud of it.
Everybody, all
Yes.
stakeholders?
The state is very happy with it.
Okay.
We've moved on past shared parenting to other things. So it's working.
Yeah. So my hope and MannsForum's hope is that your influence will also influence the Norwegian lawmakers.
Well, I think the science is behind it.
Yeah. So therefore, it's your research is very, very important for us, and also as a role model, influencing lawmakers and having your experiences with the change of the law. I think it's very important also for Norwegian politicians. So again, William, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And
Thank you. Yeah.
and take care. Good to see you.
Good to see you.